Right, this is Yannick Oho Bambe, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am more than the immigrant you had in mind. This is a platform on which stories that explore the identity and experiences of immigrants and refugees coming to Canada will be told on a regular basis. Today in the studio we have another special guest. Their name is Şansal, Gümüşpala. Awesome. And so Şansal is originally from Turkey. That's correct. All right. So welcome to the show, Şansal.
Thank you.
How are you today? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It was a nice and long week, and I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, we're glad to have you here with us. So let's just go straight into it. And can you just talk to us about yourself? Can you just introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. Thank you for having me, first of all. My name is Şansal. I'm from Turkey, came here 3 years ago. I came here mostly for my education. I want to continue doing my sociology education and starting my master's in sociology. 3 years ago I arrived to Canada, and right now I will start my PhD soon, in January, hopefully. After I came, my sibling also come here to study sociology masters, which we both did philosophy undergrad and now doing sociology masters, even having similar focus. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. Great introduction. So you came here mainly because of studies, right? From Turkey. Was there any other reason? And was Canada always your main option, or were there other options?
A great question. I really enjoy academia and studying, and I always want to travel, do some studies and abroad, see different academic écoles, different way of doing sociology, social sciences. But I always thought that I would go back to Turkey after that. But in recent 10 years, with the political change in Turkey and my research project being focusing LGBTQ, basically relations, and my subject being queer and gender studies, was not very aligned with universities' priorities in Turkey, and even hostility towards these subjects. So I think last 3 years my professors, which are extremely valuable to me, were encouraging me to do my master's and PhD, and maybe actually thinking about not continuing to working in academia in Turkey after that as well. But I always wanted to have the education in a different place, and was thinking I can try Canada, and if I enjoy I will stay. If not, there's PhD. Was thinking Belgium for a while and a bit of European countries, but I didn't realize Victoria and trans studies in trans chair in University of Victoria, and think that this is a great environment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. So from what I hear, because my other question was going to be about the reception when you came to Canada. How was the reception? But from what I'm hearing, or am I hearing right, the reception seemed to have been pretty positive for you?
I had a very ups and downs. The first couple of months I came here, I had very bad news in my my friend's circle. I lost a friend, and I learned that my best friend was going through very serious health problems. But then I start to bond with the community here. I get very much supported with my supervisor and my profs, and I hear out different people's stories about their challenges that they're facing as an international student and how many commonalities that we had. And I met with my partner here, and that was a big game changer for me, because we traveled Canada together the first summer that I was here, from Montreal to Montreal to Inuvik, Northwest Territories. So it was a 3-month trip, and I think I learned a lot about Canada at that process, and kind of start to fall in love with different facets and different things happening in Canada.
So you didn't encounter any challenges at all?
Oh, so many challenges. Especially the first time I came here, I was extremely nervous talking in English, even though I studied in English on my undergrad degrees. It was still extremely anxious thing and cultural shock. I had a very big culture shock, and missing my friends and family, feeling like I'm a bit missing out important moments in their life, and not able to support them when they need, was, I think, biggest challenge.
Yeah, I mean, in our conversation prior to this moment, you mentioned you said that you talked about your feelings, and you talked about sometimes feeling like a betrayer because you left Turkey. And I was just wondering if you had a chance to reflect on the reasons why you felt this way sometimes.
Yeah.
And what is at the root, in your opinion?
Especially because I was very connected with queer communities in Turkey, and going to every protest, trying to be in every basically environment that we I will say fight for our rights. Disconnecting from that and feeling okay, I made it in a country that these rights are given to me at this point. I came here, I am non-binary, my partner is non-binary, we are in a relationship that is very celebrated and well received, and I have amazing friends in here that is part of this queer community. I'm doing a lot of work for that and volunteering for that in here, and that also brings, when I visit Turkey, I'm not supporting the community that actually kind of helped me and boost me. But this betrayal feeling is also I know that I'm not betraying. I know that I'm involved with an amazing queer organization in Turkey, which is called Uniqueer, which is unifies all university queer organizations and solidarity groups in Turkey. And I volunteer in that program and try to support the winning and having more rights, or at least not losing more rights in the queer community in Turkey as well. So it's a process.
So now, is it fair to say that things have evolved and that you are in a much better place right now than when you first came, or are you still having those feelings about betraying your people, your community?
I think I'm in a lot better place. One of the reasons is, again, finding ways to still communicate with my communities in Turkey as well. We last year did I represent that organization, Uniqueer, in Sustainable Development Goals Conference online, and talk about illiberalism in universities and how that affect LGBTQ queer youth in universities. And I shared my reason to actually come to Canada to study the topics that I want to study about non-binary people in Turkey. So I'm definitely still well connected and try to like make like my community's voices heard and raise that their concerns, their experiences. But like in the end of the day, sometimes you feel very like far away, and it's not like if something happens in the community, if someone get arrested because they're protesting for their right of existence, basically, it's hard to not be there to like support. And so it's I think a small everyday like negotiations.
No, absolutely. Well, as you were sharing your story, a little bit of your story, I had a couple of questions or a couple of ideas that came into my mind, or some thoughts, right? First thought was about Turkey. I wanted to know a little bit more about Turkey because, well, the first thought that came into my mind is, how do you, so would you define yourself as a proud Turkish citizen? Are you still a citizen of Turkey?
I'm a citizen of Turkey, and I would say,
because what I was trying to get at was that it seems like Turkey is this place where there is like you have mixed feelings about it, sort of. I mean, that's what I'm gathering from what you're saying, right? That you have mixed feelings about this place. So that's why I was asking if you can just tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah. I mean, like many countries, Turkey has lots of ups and downs, and from my viewpoint, like my father's side is a very they are very embedded with Turkish culture, and ethnically I think most of them are somewhat Turkish, but like my mother's side is like all coming from Arabic like heritage, and we also carry like that through cuisine, through like some food making, through like our relationalities with like community building process. So, and Turkey is a very diverse place. Like it's very hard to like create a like homogeneous answer to like my feelings for Turkey, because like I grew up in there and I learned a lot of amazing skills, things, like had amazing friendships, and I really enjoy like Turkish language. I think it's very diverse and very fun to play with the like sayings, proverbs, idioms. It's very fun to play with, but it's also like there's a lot of issues that needs to be tackled politically. Like there's very heavy like conservative thoughts that getting like evolving every day, and people are losing their queer people are losing their rights. Like ethnic minorities having always had a hard time in Turkey, because it was it's a nation that is created after a collapse of an empire. So it's a very difficult situation, and I had so many friends with different backgrounds and having those challenges. So intersectionality is very important in that, like being in the queer circles, having friends who are also having very different background, different languages. So I would say I'm happy that I born in Turkey and have learned a lot of things through that. Like 26 years of experience that I've been there. And yeah, I think with the citizenships, it's always a process of like negotiation of the past and being responsible about that past as well. So yeah.
Okay. No, very insightful. And so I'm thinking also about the notion of home, right? And so what would you say when you think about home? What do you think about, and what does home mean to you?
Home mean to me, I think, community first and foremost. Like feeling of where your family and community is, and knowing that like when you travel you have that place to come back and know that like your friends, your community, your maybe like work is waiting for you, and it's actually like feeling like right and you feel belong in that place. So yeah.
So, and would you say that Canada is your home? Would you consider Canada to be your home now?
I think after this 3 year, I would consider yes. Victoria has definitely become my home. I think me and my partner, we're creating a nice community, lovely friendships, and ties with like communities and organizations in the city as well. So I would say, yeah, I consider Victoria
your home
and Canada home.
Okay. And so, following the same kind of train of thought about the home, and because we kind of like move from the challenges, and now we kind of slowly going towards the, you know, the best part, if you can put it that way, right? So you also mentioned about your achievements, right? As we were exchanging, as we were chatting a little bit before this conversation, and you talked to us about getting accepted in a PhD program, and working with different organizations. So could you please, just tell us a little bit about that, about your achievements, the different achievements?
Yeah, I am finishing and wrapping up my master's, and that was about like non-binary people's communication experiences speaking in Turkish, considering that Turkish is a gender-neutral, grammatically gender-neutral language, and I was wondering how that functions, how that happens. And
can you please? Turkish is a gender-neutral language.
Grammatically, opposite of French, actually.
Okay,
so it's a very good, actually, way to talk about it. Like we have, I think English kind of in the midway that has some gendered terms, like pronouns are he, she, and they. Now, and we have on the other side of spectrum French, and languages that embedded with grammatical gender, that adjectives and all the adverbs, everything is tie on the gender of the subject or object. And Turkish is on the opposite side of that side. There is almost no grammatical, syntaxically no gender in the language. But as society, in my thesis, I argue that we use gender in a way that we create gendered words just by using it in that way. So even though there is no gender of the word, when we say çocuk, which is children, we mean usually a boy child. So and that work is almost done. I already working to publish it in Turkish with my organization that I work or volunteer in Turkey. And I'm hopefully will start my PhD in January.
Okay. Awesome. And can you, I'm really curious about the Turkish being a gender neutral. I want to stay there for a minute. Can you please why is that? Because that kind of sparked my curiosity a little bit when you say that. Why do you think is that? Is it historically, and what does that tell us about? If you were to talk about, a sort of ideal society for you. What can that aspect of Turkish language teach us?
I think, when I was starting my research, I was worried about, I was wondering about, more than worrying, I was wondering how people actually explain that they're non-binary if there is no indication in the language that is not he, she, or el-il. So how that they like work out. And I was thinking it is very easy because you just say that you're non-binary and continue. But continuing like interviewing people, I interviewed 13 non-binary people. I realized that, and I understand through like doing a very tiring like data analysis, like even though the tool that you're using, which is Turkish, very gender neutral language, the way people utilize the language in like semantic way, which is more like how they use the word, and a pragmatic way, how they actually like make meaning, how there's like non-verbal cues or like their tone of voice, how these are all actually creates a big, very binary gendered way of communicating. And sometimes when I think about the interviews that I made and challenges that people are going through, it feels even more gendered than English because people really use space, for example, in a very gendered way compared to Canada, for example. Like one thing that's come out for example was like it's not like only about like gyms and washrooms. It's like funerals, when you go to like socializations, especially like weddings if they're more like religious. Like many spaces are so gendered that language not being gendered like doesn't solve anything. Actually become a tool to use it in a gendered way as much as they want, because it becomes like this empty vessel that they can create and like impose gender in any way or shape they want. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, let's continue and go a little bit deeper into this conversation, and talking about non-binary, and can you please give us like a definition of non-binarism?
Yeah, non-binary. It's so when we talk about like non-binary gender, we usually mean that like a gender that is neither fully male and nor fully female. So, and when we say female and male, it's more biologically talking. So actually, my wording should be more not fully woman and not fully man. So it's not gender-wise seeing themselves as in the like binary categorization of gender, and thinking that this like binary categorization is not enough for them to express their gender, express themselves, and socially seen as only like one gender. Yeah.
And so, and what would you say is the biggest misconception about non-binary?
Well, from my experiences, and I think the research that I did, I think the biggest is like your gender expression doesn't have to be aligned with your gender and the way that you feel as a gender, because gender expression is one way to convey your gender, and especially like physical appearance. That was, I think, one of the biggest findings that come out of my research, that like 13 out of 13 interviews that I conducted, each participant said that like it doesn't matter if like they are wearing a skirt, or if they do like use nail polish, or if they don't use nail polish, like whatever of the preferences, in the end of the day they still don't feel that the binary gender that they assigned. And yeah. Okay, interesting. I'm learning here. That's okay. It's perfect because I teach. I am teaching assistant for Sociology 100, and we talk all about these. And I try to talk more about gender and sexualities in classroom as well. So it's also for me just nice exercise.
No, absolutely. And to those who are, for example, try, how do you reconcile it with those who are talking about kind of like nature, that, for example, nature created human beings as a male or a female, like as a phenomenon of nature. I mean, how?
Well,
yeah.
When we talk about like nature, there is so many diversity in the nature that like when we think about it, there is so many different way of using that nature analogy. Like when you look at so many different species, you see different ways of like relating with each other and different use of like that nature argument. So I will say that we are social beings. Like when you look at like throughout societies, different cultures, different time periods, there's always different ways of expressing people's like gender. There's different gender expressions and conceptualization throughout history and like cultures. So I think I see very like colonial about this like binary conceptualization of gender and basing on that to a biological or like nature arguments in a way that like this is picking the part that you like from nature and adapt because it serves you well. So yeah.
No, I mean, insightful. I mean, I'm also thinking about something that you might maybe have come across in the news recently. I think it was in the Olympic Games in Paris, and sometimes here and there you have stories about, for example, in sports, for example, where you have two competitors, right, and there might be some kind of unfairness because of this, because one competitor might have more advantage over another competitor. I mean, what would you say to this kind of argument? I mean, those are the stories that that we hear, that we see.
Well, it's again not my area of study at all, and not my focus, because Olympic has a very deep like history, and when you look at the inequalities, I find it like terribly similar to the way that they exclude like different races from the Olympics, and the way that they base their nature argument and unfairness argument to, for example, to exclude black people from Olympics is a very similar discourse in language when you look about like and think about the way that they conceptualize fairness and justice. And we don't talk about like the inequalities, economic inequalities, like different background of athletes from different like countries and how they get paid, how they actually not get paid from like most of the like Olympic activities that they conduct. I feel like there is more than that, just what we talk about, and like history backs up that in a way that like the Olympics, that Olympic sports that always had like mixed gender or let's say sex, after women start to win, they change and they get cancelled for a year or two, and then they become like separate events. So there is more than about like fairness and the conceptualization of fairness, and that's why I find it troubling to talking about like without like enough information. So I don't have enough history knowledge. I don't study Olympics and the concept of fairness and justice in terms of Olympics, and I know all of these things because my siblings studied for a while, and that's why that was a conversation topic. And I find it a bit sometimes tiring that like just because someone is like a non-binary or trans plus person, feeling that all these questions should be asked to that person, because like we represent a group of people that is very diverse and that has very different political implications. And I think that sometimes we focus on creating like this is a very, this is not fair, or this is not this because of this. And when we look at that, actually, like, historically, it's been perpetuated by the people who had this discourse going on. And that's why I always start with, like, this, like, race argument, because it troubles me to, based on, like, nature arguments, to exclude a group of people, because that's very dangerous, and it can go to very, very troubling places that creates opposite of inclusion and exclusion and fairness and justice.
No, I mean, we're just trying to look at different perspectives, and also, again, this is a platform where we want to also learn, and it's a platform about education, and you hear, and it's also about stories, right? Storytelling, and some of the stories that you hear sometimes, and I felt like, just kind of like asking you those questions to kind of like get your thoughts on those stories as well, because, as I said, these are kind of like stories that are in the news, and that were in the news quite recently as well. So you also mentioned, I mean, just pivoting a little bit, and you also mentioned in the questionnaire, when we were talking about the aspect of your identities, we asked you to share with us 3 key aspects of your identity, and you talked to us about the fact that you are a very crafty embroider person, and a welcoming host for gatherings, right? Would you please share with us just a couple of just personal memorable stories related to your your activity as a crafty embroider, and also as a welcoming host?
I really enjoy embroidery. I think it gives a very nice medium to express some emotions that is harder to express otherwise. Like we were talking about trans issues and talking about what is talked a lot in the news and what is not. I feel like going through, in my one project, through embroidery, I went through trans archives in University of Victoria, and I had a very great opportunity to receive a Lovens Library Fellowship, which was like giving me basically great resources to support to build a exhibition. And through that archives, I find a very great craft books that are 13 volume of basically collages, and when we say craft book, it's collage book. It's one person's in England, a trans woman, Adele Anderson's, who's an opera singer and cabaret singer, great person, still alive, and she had this 13 volume of scrapbooks that she collected all the news articles, newspapers that was about LGBTQ population, and because it was through 70s, 80s majorly, it was very depressing. That news is we're portraying LGBTQ people in such a negative way. And right now we also still hear, even in Canada, LGBTQ voices with questioning and not acceptance or inclusion, but with rhetoric of, do you belong here? Or what about this fear, or what about that white fear, or that gay panic, or that things, or all the intersectionalities of this exclusionary language. And the scrapbooks were very meaningful to me because it resonates the ongoing rhetoric in here. It resonates very concerning rhetoric in Turkey. So I took those scrapbooks, I took those negative newspaper articles and negative, basically ridiculing about LGBTQ people, and embroidered on them through embroidery on paper, using many threads to create my version of that. And this is not only about LGBTQ. There are newspapers about very much women's repression and different portrayal of how this women should be at home and cooking type of stereotypes. So embroidering them in a more humorful way, putting some glitter to lovely figures of the queer past, and creating a space, for example, to like gives you the feeling of entering someone's like private living room space, and then having all these articles embellished with embroidery hung on the wall. I think I created a nice like cozy space for people who were subject of these like harmful news, I want to say, in the past, and now see them as like a more powerful representation of themselves in a way that like, okay, we can change this narrative, we can create better memories, hopeful future, more inclusion, and we can create this like space for ourselves. So that was, I think, my one of my most joyful memory. It's had this sad aspect of like all these news really being published about group and targeting them, but it also gave a lot of like, and then we did a workshop to like creating memories actually and making collages to give to trans archives in 5 years. So it was very meaningful for me, and I feel like being here in Canada gives a lot of opportunity to have this type of initiatives and create these moments.
And what was the response to that piece of work, of art, I would say?
I think people really enjoyed, especially trans non-binary people who joined the workshop and then see the like gallery space. They really, really enjoyed. They really feel like they belong, and I had very nice responses. And like anyone else, and it was in the visual arts building, so any other people who actually spend their like lifetime to do art, and they were very encouraging and they really enjoyed, and that was very important for me to have that, like, because I'm like I find myself a crafty artsy person, but that doesn't like I don't have, I think, creativity and vision for doing it like full time. That will be such a big job, but having that small validation through people who do this as like their biggest passion was very lovely.
Awesome. And how did you get into embroidery? I mean, is it just something that you discovered that you enjoyed, or I mean?
That's a good question. I think in Turkey I enjoy sewing of it. Like my mom sews a lot in the past, especially. And coming here, I think through Queer Crafternoon, an initiative that brings like queer people together, and every month they choose like a different craft. And I think second or third month that I participate was embroidery, and I realized that I really enjoy creating things, and I use like paper as a medium because I joined a workshop in Inuvik. I was working as a Northern Art Festival workshop coordinator. I find myself in that position to eating, like, we see this Facebook ad to invite us to paint some plywood on white in exchange of getting some banak and nice soup. And then they offer me a job to be this like workshop coordinator for
Great. Awesome.
Specifically like Indigenous artists. I mean, non-Indigenous as well, but it's in Inuvik, so they were trying to create more space for Indigenous artists. And I was the coordinator for their like workshop for like open to public, and like the time slots, how much, like basically all these things. And I also attend one workshop, which was paper embroidery. Okay. And I really fall in love with that.
Oh, awesome. Well, like, just goes to tell us that you never know, you just have to be open to opportunities, and you never know what you might find as you embrace new opportunities, right? Yeah. So moving on slowly to the end of our conversation, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to leave us with some words of wisdom, right? But before we do that, I would like you to take us on a little journey, on a little trip to Turkey. And my question is, what would you say is the most unique aspect of Turkish culture, or the best aspect of Turkish culture?
I think I really enjoy how we build communities very fast and very easily, like inviting people. I think being a good neighbor is one of the best like aspect that I find in the culture, in a way that like you take care of people around you, and like there are a lot of sayings around this idea. So I think like being a responsible and like attentive neighbor or community member.
Yeah, I mean, one concept or expression that came to my mind as you mentioned that was being my brother's keeper, right? This idea of being my brother's keeper. Is that a fair? Would it be fair to say that? Does this apply to Turkish culture a little bit?
I think. Can you open up a bit more?
Being my brother's keeper?
Yeah.
It's just a concept about just being. It's almost like it's about treating the other as you would want you to be, as you want to be treated by the other, right? That's basically the premise of it. Being my brother's keeper is like, okay, my neighbor should be my brother, and because they are my brother, then I should be able to try at least, even if I don't necessarily. I don't necessarily have to agree with everything, with every choice that they make, right? But at least I have the sort of responsibility to treat them as I would have loved them as I would have loved to be treated by them if the roles were reversed, right? This is that's the basic idea about that. Do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, I think definitely we have a very in line. I was talking with my mom about this and thinking like what type of like values that she loved about Turkish culture that like she want to brainstorm with me, and we were joking that like the biggest saying that my mom always said to us when we were like moving or finding places like ev alma komşu al, which is like don't invest on like a house, invest on like your neighbors, like
awesome. I like that.
Basically like having this relation with your neighbors is more important than the like house. And it also goes like being a nice like environment and create that nice environment as well. And this like notion of like friendship and the way that like you recognize one through like their neighbors, their friends, because like the way that they talk about that person and like how they taken care by that person in a way that like mutually like supported and nourished. So I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy. Like if someone is sick, making soup to them. If someone really enjoys something, finding that and creating time to actually take care. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that as well. And that kind of gives me that kind of makes me want to go to Turkey now.
Don't go in the summer if you're not very comfortable with the heat, especially in the Mediterranean side, but it's a beautiful place to visit.
Oh, awesome. I mean, I can definitely see that. I mean, from what you're saying, because that's really what I'm about, this idea of just respecting of each other and try to, like I say, treat people with the dignity and the respect that they deserve as human beings, So
I mean, the main thing that is, and I don't want to like slowly end on a negative way, but the thing that has come is like you love your neighbor, but you also have expectations. And that expectation can, if they are based on this like norms that, like the traditions that you grow up with, then it's a bit becomes like also tiring and almost like harmful for the relationship, for your own existence, like this, because like you don't want to be in a situation like, oh, what's your neighbor should think about you, like. So it's ongoing, I think, again, negotiations. Like it's an amazingly lovely aspect that I'm extremely missing. But I think it's also important to realize that, like, as amazing it is, it also have some points that sometimes can create some crossover boundaries, or like basically so I think what I'm trying to say here is I really enjoy so many aspects of Turkish culture, but I also am grateful to be here and able to have that perspective of, okay, something that the way that we do in Turkey is not the only way, and some way that we do in Canada is not only way. And there is always this, like, okay, there's some side that can be improved or change a bit to like accommodate peoples and create more inclusion, and vice versa. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, since we are still in Turkey, and we were sharing earlier, I mean, you were telling me earlier that you have some sayings, Turkish sayings, and I would love to hear some of them. And so if you can just share a few sayings, Turkish sayings, and then leave us with some words of wisdom, just to kind of like conclude this moment.
Yeah.
Please.
I think I still really love like ev alma komşu al, in a way that like focusing on building neighborhoods, or komşun tokken, komşuna çıkan tok yatan bizden değildir, which is like if your neighbor is not if your neighbor is not nourished, if they don't like eat, if they don't fed, and you're sleeping with like peacefully, then there is something wrong with that. Like then you're not in that community. And yeah, and I think I really enjoy bana arkadaşını söyle, sana kim olduğunu söyleyeyim, which is like tell me like the friends that you have, and I will tell you like who you are, in a way that like you are basically the like kind of the average of your friend group, in a way that like if you have nourishing, diverse, and if you create those like nourishing connections, then you also are being fed by that and created by that. And if you don't like fed that relations and like if you like make friendship that is making you down, then you become that. So I really enjoy the like emphasis on friendship and like community building in Turkey. Yeah.
I love it. I mean, and any words of wisdom that you can leave us with? Anything else that you would like to share?
I don't know. I think one thing I learned from my old university was like, and that was mostly focusing on like there is no like good or bad nation. There is like some people having some different aims and try to like cultivate that environment. So I think it's important how we cultivate like our daily life conversations and like trying to bring together instead of like picking sides or picking parts, or like creating unnecessary dichotomies is not really helpful. So I think I would say that like create some like nice long-lasting communities that actually connect and communicate with each other instead of bringing down. Yeah.
I love it. You heard it by my dear friend Şansal. And yes, one. I mean, it's about this concept of neighbors, and finding your neighbors, creating those connections, and being our brothers' keepers. And again, as I was briefly mentioning earlier, we have the responsibility to. I think that's what it comes down to treat each other as we deserve to be treated, right, as human beings. That's just plain and simple, and give to each and every human being the dignity and the respect that they deserve. Once we start going towards that as an aim, then I'm pretty sure that our societies are going to look much more colorful and a little bit better. So I just want to say thank you so much, Şansal, for taking the time to just have a conversation with us. It was truly enlightening. It was insightful. I learned a lot as well today. And you are welcome to come by, to stop by at any time. Thank you so much. Thank you. So tune in for more in the next episodes of this podcast series, produced by the Intercultural Association of Greater Victoria, with funding from the Department of Canadian Heritage.